if you're making music in Albuquerque, especially like over the last 15 years or whatever, you're just making it because you have to and you love it, not because like there's any incentive to make it. And there's many disincentives, like especially with the DIY spaces and stuff, just constantly being hassled by the police. Is like you just really like you had to want to do it, and it had to mean a lot to people, or else there's no reason to do it.
Me personally, I have wanted to do this for so long, and I went through some I had to, really put myself in this position. So when it does get really hard and it just gets dire and it seems like, what the hell are we doing in the first place? When we're out in the middle of South Carolina on the side of the road with it's raining in a sundown town.
It was, dude.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like when it's like that, and we have no money, we're like $1,000 in the hole, and we don't even know if we're gonna make it back home in the next 2 weeks. When it gets to that level, the thing that I think about is, okay, well, at least you're in a van with a band and your instruments, and you know what I mean. Like at least you're.
Thank God.
But for the most part, I think with everybody, everybody has that going. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like we all, at some point in our lives, decided that music.
To give the analogy of like kind of like a triangle of what makes a successful show. One side is the audience, one side's the artists or the performers, and then one side is the host or the venue. And as long as everyone is happy and functioning correctly, it is going to be the best show ever. If the audience is doing their role of showing up, giving a good time, like paying at the door, like keeping the economy going, then it's going to be good. If the venue is taking care of everyone there, it's a safe space, they are running everything as functionally as possible, but hopefully, just functional. And then as long as the performers are giving a good show, then it's going to be a great show.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm making a documentary about the Albuquerque music scene.
Oh, cool. Nolan, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Chris is also in Prism Bitch.
Is it okay if I film you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which band are you guys in?
We're Nomestomper.
Yeah.
Hi, we're Nomestomper from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
We got started, we all used to be in this band in high school, like a punk band called Sentimental Bukkake, and
I really like Nomestomper. Yeah, those guys are cool. I love their enthusiasm.
I like grew up on like Jimi Hendrix and shit, and like just fucking like the Stooges, fucking JFA, Black Flag, like old skate punk shit. And we don't like play that. Like we fucking love Black Sabbath.
Albuquerque has a very good music scene. You know, definitely incredibly diverse and a lot more inclusive and not so much exclusive because people, you know, actually are as gatekeepy as I'm used to in other towns, where it's just like if you don't know someone personally, they're not going to let you play at their venue, and I think that's kind of bullshit because you're just like, yeah, you're just preventing someone from like expressing themselves.
We were at a protest for abortion rights, and some lady yelled out at her from her car, "You're all going to hell!"
So that's where that song came from.
Yeah.
You're all going to hell!
What the fuck?
New band called Los Mocos that have a ton of buzz around them, but they're like really fun punk rock, silly kind of punk rock stuff, which is cool.
Los Mocos are awesome. They're like just the best, most adorable, like fun, psych punk rock kids.
Can we get your names first?
Canadian McBuster Funk. Yeah. I'm Santiago. Santiago Science.
Carlos Renfro.
I'm Jessica. My full name, Jessica Ramirez Morales.
There's also another band member,
Andres Esquivel.
Esquivel, yeah.
Yeah, so
he's our other guitarist.
he's our other guitarist who's not currently here. We'll get him on here.
We got started in like March of 2020, like right when the first lockdown hit. I made this flyer that was like looking for people to join a punk band, and I put it all around campus on UNM, and I put it on Instagram too. And so I got a few replies, and Santi was one of the people who replied. And he was like, "Yo, I want to play drums for you," and I was like, "Sick."
Oh yeah, the audition song was Nazi Punks. Nazi Punks Fuck Up by
Dead Kennedy.
I noticed you guys on your Instagram, it said, "Born during the pandemic to make you sick."
Thank you, Santi, for coming up with that. I think you came up with that.
I did come up with that, I think, yeah.
He's the mastermind behind a lot of our good lyrics. Like, I feel like our band just comes from a sense of humor, basically. Like, I think "Take Me to Your Wiener" came from like, we were just joking around.
Yeah.
And
satire, but not in the sense that we want to ignore the issues.
Yeah, totally.
That we want to shed light on it, but we also want to bring some light to the irony and the fucking ridiculous absurdity of what's going on
it all.
politically.
What's your experience been playing like bars versus kind of like DIY spaces?
DIY's kind of been the lifeblood
of
how we do our thing, really, because especially when I was underage, it's more difficult to get gigs. And there's a community here, especially there's a huge difference between playing bars and DIY shows, because there are a lot of people that are more accepting. There's other people at a bar, you have a lot of people that are not as accepting and are more wanting to sip on their drinks than they are listening to bands. had a record producing company out of my old chicken house called Just Farts Records.
Just Farts Records.
Oh, damn.
Produced
Rest in peace.
many famous bands. Yeah.
So, special shout out to Santi's neighbor who called the cops a couple times.
Yeah.
Was a total dickhead about it.
And if you're watching this, Victor, I'm gonna eat your kids still.
THC-Worm.
THC-Worm for sure. They're killing it. They've played a bunch of good shows.
One thing that I think is so cool, I've said a million times, what I've seen from like just like the Nomestomper guys and the THC-Wormhole guys is they have like no tolerance for creeps. Like they've said, we have like an eye out for these people at shows. Like they're not welcome, we know who they are. And when I was their age, as a female, you sort of just accepted that there were skeezy dudes around and that behavior was accepted and the comments were made and those people got handsy and no one really like stood up for you at that time. I just like kids now are like, oh no, like homie, don't play that. We're not fucking around anymore. Like we're protecting our community and the spaces we play in are gonna be safe for everybody.
It's like a shoe, like a flip-flop that can be taken off easy. That's usually thrown at you.
The weapon.
Yeah, by your abuela or your mom when they're mad at you. But the funny thing is that it doesn't hurt at all because it's like foam. So the physical force doesn't hurt, but it's just like the intention behind it breaks your heart. Right. So you cry.
Well, La Chancla is a DIY space that Audrey and I run together. The majority of people that run spaces are dudes. And now we have like a woman trans run space and I feel like there's not a lot of that out here. We've had like 1 million hour plus long conversations where we're just like, we're not gonna let any of our biases toward people affect the way that we run this space or welcome them in here. Mm-hmm. Like each person is gonna get an equally warm hello and welcome and be equally safe and welcome in this space.
That's like the other thing too, is I feel like we really go out of our way to introduce ourselves to people we don't find familiar.
Every single person that walks through the door gets treated with like total warmth and kindness and welcomeness, like regardless of who you are or who you know or how cool you are. Yeah, because we don't want it to be like weird or intimidating. Unless you're an unsafe person, like a truly unsafe person, or you do something really unsafe in this space, we're not gonna let our own biases or maybe like feelings toward anything affect the way that we run this space.
Great team, go vote. But regardless of what happens, we're still gonna be out there working and doing our job and making sure abortion is safe and everybody is accessible to that type of healthcare. So thanks for showing up and I hope you guys keep going. Thanks.
Yeah.
pocket to have the walls to provide space for other people in the community to make it their own.
Yeah, that's like generally the point.
We have yet to break even.
Yeah.
We
get close.
We get close.
We got close last
We eat the door a lot.
Yeah.
We've gotten close though. I mean, we have definitely got a chunk of our rent paid for the last few months.
Hi, my name is Maria Erin Jones. I guess my mission that was unspoken for a long time was that women and people of color on every bill. You know, there are lots of places to play in Albuquerque, but what you end up getting is, you know, white dudes, you know, in bands. And that's not necessarily bad. I like white dudes. I think they're cute. All right, fine. You know, that there was a mixture of people there, some who looked like me, some who were women, you know, and it changed the composition not only on the stage, but the people who were attending.
Last year, Raven Chacon became the first Native American composer to win the Pulitzer Prize for Music, bringing new attention to a composer known for his experimental sounds and explorations of place and history.
The setting, a church in Milwaukee at Thanksgiving, a large organ and musicians positioned throughout the congregation. Titled Voiceless Mass, it was conceived as a liturgical mass, but with a difference. Instead of a choir, there's an absence, the native voices long silenced by the Catholic Church. The piece was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Music in 2022, cited for evoking, quote, the weight of history. For composer Raven Chacon, it's an example of the idea of hojon, from the Navajo Dene language.
That idea of hojo means maybe things lining up with other things. Maybe it's ourselves and our position here in the universe and us finding ourselves inside of all of this and realizing that we are in a timeline of other occurrences that happen. And for me, that's what music is. It's when you hear something line up with something else and you want to hear that again.
I'm proud of him. I'm very fucking proud of that guy. His family threw like a surprise party for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And then the metal mayor showed up, so I got to meet the mayor and shit. It's pretty funny, man. It's like meeting a politician, man. It's like a lawyer, but like a little less personable, you know? But probably cheaper.
When we moved here, my parents had met this woman named Dawn Chambers, and she was studying music at UNM. She was studying piano and composition. And she offered to give me and my sister free lessons. So I was excited by it. I wanted to play saxophone or guitar, anything. And they said, well, do these piano lessons. It'll give you a basis, you know. We've been studying with Dawn for a couple of years and never seen her play the piano in a concert. You know, she's, you know, we were even supposed to do recitals, and she said, you know, I'm doing a concert Sunday night. Can you come? And my parents said, okay, get dressed up and everything, and we went to go see her play. And she comes out on stage wearing a bathrobe, carrying these rubber duckies and all this stuff. Walks up to the piano and throws it inside the piano and slams the lid shut. And I'm thinking, what is this? This is crazy. Was this a joke, you know? And people are applauding and laughing, and some people look shocked. And I thought it was amazing. And afterwards, she introduces us to the composer, and she said, these are my students. And we shook this guy's hand, and it was John Cage.
John Cage and Water Walk.
And I didn't think nothing of it, you know, until years later when I really wanted to know everything I could about music. And I was interested in, you know, so-called classical music. And that name came up again. And I said, okay, I met him, you know, I know this guy. And so from there, you know, I think maybe there was a bit of mystery taken away from, you know, composition.
Albuquerque's wonderful. The way that Albuquerque holds you, and once you have established yourself, the way that Albuquerque holds you is so fucking refreshing.
It was a quarantine thing. It started during 2020, during the lockdown process. Just kind of, I don't know if we just didn't have anything better to do, but it was just like, hey, let's fucking start some crusty shit, and here we are.
I've seen a bunch of new artists come out post-pandemic that are like already leaps and bounds ahead of what new artists would be before the pandemic, because they've had 2 years of just practicing and songwriting and that time off to just kind of focus on their craft.
I feel like everybody's really been working on their craft over like the pandemic or whatever, and the level of musicianship has gone up, the level of showmanship's gone up a bit. People are writing some really good songs right now and performing them the best they can, and it's been a market change. I feel like people used to kind of just be lackadaisical about it a little bit, kind of just, you know, oh, it's just for fun, it's just on the weekend, but like, people seem to have like a little bit more fire in their hearts right now, and I really like that. I'm hoping to like take that energy that the bands are giving out, and I'm hoping to find an audience for that, because like I think Albuquerque is like, it's a pretty big town. Like it can support more music than it has in the past.
Kennedy's assassination was the end of the world.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And the Beatles played on the Ed Sullivan Show in February.
The Beatles, bring them on!
Like I say, that was like the Wizard of Oz movie. That was the end of the black and white part of the movie. And my whole life changed.
I feel like if you're interested in electronics or recording or experimental music and sound in Albuquerque for any length of time, at some point your path takes you to Manny. It's like all roads lead to Manny at some point, right?
All roads lead there.
It all goes back to Manny, you know, like everything came from Manny and returns to Manny.
I graduated in '69. There were a few of us and that played, but I mean, we were like we were hated. the long-haired freaks. Just before I graduated, my father just bashed me over the head with a club. I guess he wanted me to be a scientist, and I was a musician. We had this band, Downright August. Which is sort of this really tight fusion-y band. I mean, by then I was like a monster guitar. I mean, I really could play that fucking guitar. We started this place at that fire station, and it was an empty building. We rented it, and our band lived there. And we converted the bottom into a performance space. We had Charles Lloyd, Harvey Mandel, and Charles Lloyd's band, that some of their musicians really liked Downright August, and he wanted us, he said, you should go to LA and be my backing band. So we moved to LA. I got pneumonia, practically died, and I had to come back to Albuquerque.
You get a band born here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where there's land as far as the eye can see. There's endless horizon. So you're like this. There's nothing boxing you in like this up and down. You have any which way to go. And I truly believe that that affects your sound. I think that somehow songwriters here, musicians here, that's a part of them. That's in their that's in their atoms. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you would call it, but I think that truly reflects in music. I think whether you put an Albuquerque or New Mexico band on this stage at Launchpad, or put them in the petroglyphs out in the open field, they're gonna sound just as expansive, just as kick-ass. They're gonna fill up the space that they're given, because bands here, artists here have to work with what they're given.
There's gunshots?
There was like two biker gangs, Mongols and Banditos.
Oh shit.
Off their camp.
Don't be afraid to break up and start another band. I mean, honestly, like, we've seen it time and time again that, like, somebody will get so latched onto the idea of this one band that they have that they kind of lose sight of the fact that, like, it's gone stale or something, right?
Right.
And there's so much value in playing with other people. There's so much value in changing your viewpoint and writing a different kind of music. You know, if you're in a really heavy band, maybe go for something a little bit poppier. If you're in a really poppy band, maybe start something noisy and raging or something.
Yeah.
Especially young kids in new bands. It's like, my word of advice would always just be like, your next band is gonna be so much better. When I was in high school, my first high school hardcore band broke up, and I was like real broken up about it. And this girl I knew, she was like, this is your first band. You're gonna be in 1 million bands. Like, what? Don't get upset about this. Like, she's like, I get it, but like, still, you're gonna be in like 100 bands in your life. Like, it's not worth getting that upset about. Well, she was totally right. I still think about it to this day because bands break up.
A battle to find work that some say isn't fought fairly, as Jane Wells explains.
And get ready, here they are, the Shakers!
The music is great. The bands are all great. I've never heard a bad band down here in Albuquerque.
What do you think about the music scene here in Albuquerque?
It could be better. It's real good, but it could be a lot better.
What's hot, what's not, and who decides? Top 40 is in, anything else is out.
And who decides? A lot of people say it's up to one man.
He's an agent named Joe Buffalino.
I love it. It's not a job for us, it's a way of life.
Buffalino started his Albuquerque agency 8 years ago.
Albuquerque is like America's Liverpool.
And its version of the Beatles may be this group, Sassy Jones, the biggest band in the state with national acclaim.
We cater to the people, I think. And it's bottom line, we give the people exactly what they want.
And the people want Sassy Jones. So do the clubs. That often means dealing exclusively with Joe Buffalino and employing only his bands. That leaves other bands out in the cold. The Shakers couldn't get much work until Buffalino took them on. They would like to play less top 40, but they really can't.
Screening out a lot of creativity and making it difficult for anybody that's just a little bit different to break into the scene. And that's what's unfair.
Buffalino says he builds bands. He gives them the songs to play off the charts. He often tells them what to wear. The bands always work and make money, and Buffalino usually gets a 15% cut.
If there's something wrong with it, I don't see it.
With Jerry's Kids and all that, really started 79.
Got a girl in a car, bet you feel real tall. Get drunk in a bar, smash a ride into a wall. DWI, let's all think I'll die. DWI.
Jerry's Kids was one of the first probably.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the playing was just there in our practice spot, which is the bass player's parents were really generous. They let us just literally take over their garage, and we made it, sort of soundproofy, and that was like the main place we played for most of the time of Jerry's Kids. So yeah, I started doing that, putting on shows, and then encouraging other people to do too. I said, it's not a big deal, just throw down a little cash and rent someplace, charge a few bucks at the door, make your money back, and give the rest to the band. And I tell these bands that when they get in touch, I said, I'm not going to sign anything, but I promise you that we'll get a decent venue and a decent PA. So charge $3 or $4 at the door and feed you, and you put you up for the night, or maybe you'll luck out and go home with one of the 2 or 3 punk rock girls we have in town.
How did you find out about punk and all that?
Reading in these magazines like Rolling Stone and these other semi-mainstream obscure magazines. There was a skateboard shop here in town. This guy Dave Goldfarb ran it. Skate City. It lasted in other forms long after that. He was from like New York or something. And he had hit all the records. He had a shit ton of those records, and I'd borrow them from him, or I'd go work in his shop and play all those albums. Outsiders, especially back then, they thought this is like this violence thing going on. These kids are just moshing, they're just slam dancing. And when there was like 1 or 2 assholes that would go and purposely tear up a bathroom or stuff, we would just fucking blacklist them from coming to the shows. And people that were big enough and tough enough to keep those fuckers out, like Steve. Do you know Steve Island?
I do know Steve.
Yeah, and he was a big ass dude back then.
Yeah, I've known him for like 40, since like 78 or so. He was kind of our dad. He was like the punk rock dad. I knew guys that got in trouble, had to go to jail. He'd be the guy over there trying to bail them out, not to let the folks know and all this other stuff. And he was always, this like kind of voice of reason compared to a bunch of meatheads like myself and all that.
And they all liked me because I was the guy bringing the music, so I got along real good with them. And I'd say, I need, sort of work security, keep these jackasses from tearing shit up, because these are one of the few places we can put these shows on, and if the people that run these places are like, fuck this, you gotta turn on my bathroom, this or that, then we won't have any place. So it would have lasted longer, but then the singer, they were from California originally anyway, and various reasons he wanted to go back. He wanted to move to San Francisco, so he moved back. We were trying to keep the band together. It just wasn't the same, and it sort of fell apart. I tried to get a couple other projects together. Didn't really happen until then what became Cracks in the Sidewalk. Those guys were looking for a guitar player, and they had some dude that was sort of like just a normal guitar player. He's good, technical and stuff, but they wanted somebody who was more And I was familiar with these folks, and the singer was like a big art student at the time when it was all first started. Judd Frondorf. And they invited me to come and jam with them, and the chemistry just clicked. And I was, new to it. I didn't realize until later on in my life that, that was what made this band so good, is there was that chemistry, and we clicked. And the bass player was this girl at first, Jazz. She'd make up a riff or something, and it just, I don't know, and then I would just throw something on it. It would just work. And Judd was quite a wordsmith, and he came up with really cool lyrics. And we had Chris Partain drumming, and as a young guy, he was real into technically drumming. He developed, become probably, in my opinion, one of the best drummers around.
I mean, to me, Cracks in the Sidewalk is still the best band that I've ever seen here.
Manny was like, he was more or less known by an older crowd of creative people, musicians, but he was like one of the coolest people, because he saw this thing that most people thought, the punk rock, and he saw it for what it was. It was original and had this energy.
So I talked to Judd and said, let's record.
He was all about, inviting people in, recording them, and putting their music out.
This is Ubic Sound, a recording studio veteran musician Manny Rettinger founded in 1986 to record and promote local talent. Welcome to Colores. I'm Esther Reyes. Rettinger is the central force behind the Ubic recording label. Today, 15 bands strong, it features everything from New Mexico folk to pop rock to hardcore punk. And the Ubic sounds aren't just being heard in New Mexico. They're being distributed throughout the US and Europe. Just listen to this.
Play on silver, get it order. But you like winter, I like summer. But you like sugar, I like money. Well, you like money.
And he had the whole top floor where he had studios set up. He had his, living quarters set up But he made this really big studio, so you could have bands spread out, and it was totally a do-it-yourself thing. But it was pretty pro, and his equipment was all real high end. Or he would tell people, like, yeah, I recorded Cracks in the Sidewalk, and I ended up being all stoned. Those guys smoked so much weed that I just couldn't help but breathing it in. And he was even telling us, he goes, guys, man, I'm all high. You guys made me get high. And he's real cute about that kind of stuff.
Ubic, it's a novel by Philip Dick, who wrote Blade Runner, all those Minority Report. He's one of my favorite. I'm really into science fiction. Yeah. I mean, I pretty much just taught myself. I just had a real feel for it.
Mm-hmm. He was super supportive. He'd put on, shows where you'd have more, I call them the straight bands like Bayou Seiko.
Yeah, we used to have these massive shows with about 9-10 bands. And that's what I would do when we had releases. All the new bands would play, and then some of the old ones.
He'd put us on those bills, and bands and the crowds would freak out, but just because we were different, and like I said, we were kind of aggressive, but we weren't violent and shit. And people, he really was, I think, instrumental, and doesn't get enough credit for developing and helping the scene become a scene.
To be able to have a show that would have somebody like Tony Apodaca playing New Mexican folk music and then Cracks. I mean, we would have, that was Ubic. I used to call it Albuquerque.
Ubic.
That's Ubic sound was everything, ubiquitous, like everything at once.
Manny has foresight. He understands the vast scope of music and how all musics interconnect. And there isn't these lines of folk and rock and new age. They all are intermixed anyway. And that's what Manny's done. He's just gone out and found the interesting and good musicians that in the area and cared enough to put them on tape and just do it.
I never really thought it would take off the way it did when I started it, but I had this studio. I knew all these people, I'd been playing with them before, and I just wanted to record them. And I had the equipment to do it and the ability. And one thing led to another, and I decided, well, let's just go for it.
I recorded them, and I'll run out 500 cassettes, and I'll give you 250 of them. Mm-hmm. So that's like 250 $10 bills. I sold them at stores. They sold really well. That's when I started getting into the African stuff and started this band doing all African and called that Animal Opera.
Nobody knows for sure we're going to. Nobody knows for sure. Since our time here's so brief, you better save yourself some grief. You gotta find it on your own.
friend Grant plays in a band up in Denver called In the Company of Serpents. And one time I brought him and they're staying at my house. And, you know, I always wanted to move to Denver. I'm a big Broncos fan, but I always loved Colorado and I always loved that area. And I told him, you know, I really want to move up to Denver because I love your guys' scene. I love the Broncos. I love just everything up there. He's like, why would you want to move away from this, man? You're roaming from Albuquerque. Everyone knows you from roaming from Albuquerque. So when they think about going to New Mexico and stuff, they hit you up. So why would you want to be roaming from Denver? There's probably another roaming from Denver. So actually that made me really think about it. I was like, yeah, because everyone wants to move away from here, but this is home. And why wouldn't you want to like have your roots? Well, your roots will always be here, but like plant your roots and grow from here, you know, because there's a lot of opportunity here. And I wanted to be roaming from New Mexico.
My way and talk to me with nothing but how to break your heart when what I want and what I need is for us to
fall. Be nice to your hostages. the people that have to stay and hear you, the sound guys, the bartenders, the door guys, like everybody there at your venue who makes it happen. Because if you're jerks to them, like they're the ones who have to stay and see you.
Right.
Everybody else that's there, they paid and they can leave.
There's a lot of talent here. And I know that we've never felt that anyone was like competing with us or, you know, it always feels, especially with local shows, that everyone's pretty supportive of each other, which is great. I've got friends who, you know, are from Dallas or Nashville, and I've had those conversations with them where they're like, it's definitely not the same. It feels much more open and friendly here. So.
Dressed up like freaks, his long hair memorizing, his shiny pretty feet. We laughed hand in hand. Oh, wasn't life so grand? Ignore the red flags. Packed me over an iPad, and when we broke up, I did.
stand, everyone I date, and everyone I fucking stand, everyone I date, and everyone I fucking stand, everyone I date, and everyone I fucking stand.
There was all this noise scene that was going on, and that kind of came from Raven.
There was an ad on Craigslist, like, do you want to come play this improvisational music game by John Zorn called Cobra Game? And I'd heard of Cobra Game before. And so I just responded to the Craigslist ad, and I was like, sure, I'll go play this game.
This kind of musical card game to organize musicians. So let's get together and play this game. And people were really into it. You know, Marisa DeMarco, her sister, other people who just say, yeah, you know, I'm getting tired of playing, you know, Bach or whatever. And so that became a group that was called Cobra Group, but then it became a group called Death Convention Singers. And so I wrote a few pieces for the group. One of them was to go to abandoned spaces around Albuquerque, you know, houses that I knew of that had been vacant for a long time, and going and breaking in these places and setting up microphones, you know, portable mics, and just waiting in the dark for people to show up, you know, sending an invitation out saying, don't reply back, just show up at midnight with an acoustic instrument. And yeah, we'd make albums like that. Like just, I don't know who's on them. Yeah, one of them's called Brujas. Or you know, keys or anything, or chords, and barely recognizable instruments. I mean, contact mics on sheet metal, or amplifying a drill, a power drill or something. Anything anybody can do to just make a noisy sound, but coming together underneath that you know, that sound creates a community of people who, like I said, are probably frustrated with punk music or, you know, metal or whatever.
Gatas y Batas is an all-women's solo experimental music fest in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
As you know, me and my sister, we've been in bands together for over a decade now. And, you know, oftentimes the band that we were playing in, we'd be the only women on stage for the entire night, on the entire bill. And so we were talking to each other, we say, hey, you know, we know all these female musicians who've been playing for 10 plus years. Why aren't they on stage? Why aren't they out there getting their music heard?
To do an event that was not just about like you know, having women on stage period, but like having them be the primary songwriters, composers, experimentalists of the set, and so it was for solo performance.
I don't know if I should be here. I got lost in the cobweb corners of the ether. Smash my mirror into pieces, heap them all up. Slice my lips in the process like a cold paper cuts. Wisdom to be rough with the salt inside my cup. Just to soothe the pain of the hollow in my guts. I am more than the splinter, I'm the whole piece of wood.
Okay, so do you know who Vanessa Guillen is? She was the woman in the army that went missing and then found in Texas.
Her case is grabbing headlines across the nation. People want to know, where is Vanessa Guillen?
Where's my sister? They know where she is, and I want them to speak up.
This was not one of those cases the military can sweep under the rug.
When that stuff happened with her, that really affected me a lot. And there was like a month where they couldn't find her. You know, it was like, where the fuck is she? And like the military wasn't really forthcoming about anything with regards to her. And during that time, like, I recorded some pieces at home. Going back on it, it wasn't until the following year or later on that like I actually looked at the dates of like when she went missing and when I like recorded those tracks at home. And it was like during that time, and I had been thinking about myself and her, but like I decided to record again and lay it over the tracks that I had done during that time. But I decided to use my voice on these two and then kind of layer it on what I had done during the time that she was missing, and that kind of came together in my own release that was like for me, but also for women who experience military violence. Yeah, I was just kind of inspired by her and just kind of inspired to finally like use my own voice for like, you can't tell because it's just like a scream and it's like manipulated and stuff. Track, one of the tracks that I did, like I was just in here fucking around and like, you know, just looking around, and I remembered I had like a little music box up here on my mantle, my grandma's music box. So I wound that up, and that's like at the very end of the track, the music box kind of kicks in and it just kind of ends.
my advice about nerves is to listen very intently to the people who are performing before you, and really listen to them. Because if you can break out of the headspace where you're worried very, very much about what you're about to do, and like your fear mind is turning your gaze like inward, if you can like stay focused and think about their set and how cool it is, and find like real connection and appreciation for someone else's set, that puts you in a great headspace for getting on stage and remaining connected with the room in a positive way.
And tired wandering for fleeting answers. You need not prove, so don't you share.
Clouds cuts deep and brings me back to you. Why shouldn't there be blood if our love is true?
There's all kinds of exciting, diverse groups and things happening here, but there's no like rallying point, like communities that had scenes, they had some kind of rallying point, usually either a sound or a club, and in Albuquerque, I don't know if it's our like Wild West spirit or whatever, but it's more like it's more individualistic, and so I think it's kind of always like scrappy and working on cool things and everything, but tricky because it's not like really, it doesn't build, so it's very hard, it's a challenging environment, but there's, town full of great musicians and great bands, and, it's just that it doesn't feel like any kind of focused scene.
Not to knock New Mexico totally, but like in my generation and peers, like kind of, within my generation, some of the artists, like there's a wanting to do art, but like technically there's not a lot of help, or there's it seems rudimentary because people are just doing what they can with what they have, because there's not a lot of programs for us even in school.
I honestly feel like and maybe this is changing, that we've kind of been a culture that has been, people didn't know about, and underground, I guess is a word. And I moved here 15 years ago, and I feel like it's underground not only to people who don't live here, but to people who do live here. And weirdly, we're used to this really vibrant scene where there's music always playing everywhere, and it's local bands, and then you'll have touring bands and whatnot, and you'll go to other cities and you expect them to have that same thing, and they don't. And I feel like in Albuquerque we kind of take that for granted. Like I've been to San Diego recently, and I couldn't find I wasn't trying to go to House of Blues, I wasn't trying to go to any big venues, I was trying to find local music, couldn't do it. Washington DC, tried to do the same thing, couldn't do it. And so I feel Albuquerque just has this really amazing local music scene that we take for granted.
know, it's like the scene has definitely changed in the last few years. And a pandemic time, someone was telling me the other day, they're like, wow, I go to these shows, I don't recognize anybody. It's the new generation.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting these kids, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, you're doing stuff that, right on.
Every person that I see blows me away. There's so much talent here. It's shocking. I'm just like, damn, like, how are these people not blown up yet? But it's also really special that it's more of an intimate setting, I think. Dance Dance Dance, it's a teen thing, was a thing for teens on Saturday night at the beach water park. And it used to be a water park that was here. It's since closed down for a while. But it was a thing to bring, it was a safe place for teens to get together and dance. And you could watch it. One of the only places you could go if you were a young person.
Yeah.
Right now, we want to talk to you about something serious that affects us all.
Whether it's at home, school, or when you're just walking down the street, it's everywhere, and it's scary.
Yes, and that's why our It's Cool to Be Clean message of the night is addressing teenage violence in America. Teenage violence isn't something to joke about. Did you know it's the primary cause for death of teens in America?
Nearly 80% of teenage deaths are a result of violence. Everything from homicides to suicides, motor vehicle crashes, and other unintentional injuries.
Teenage homicides are up 300% in the last 30 years and is increasing day by day. Teenage suicide rates for 15 and 19-year-olds have tripled to 10 per 100,000 in the past 30 years.
Firearm death rates have also increased.
If this current trend continues, American schools and colleges will become increasingly unsafe, and that's not something to look forward to.
Have you guys played here before?
No, this
No?
is our first time at Bozy. We're stoked. It's nice to play outside when the weather is cooperating, so
Nice,
that's
it is.
sick. This is our longest set list to date, so bear with us.
How long is that?
It's just under an hour.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah.
I make a lot of more abstract work, not so much music. My brother's a composer. He makes music. He formally, writes music and compositions. I make other, conceptual art, and sometimes there's a sound aspect or sound installations. But I don't know if it would be like classified as music. But I have a few performances coming up that have a sound component. One of them is a piece that I've been performing for a while. It has to do with getting sound out of food and preparing the food, and again, sort of documenting its transformation from ingredients into food, and like the product of that is sound. so used to like the food we eat. So bringing attention to, you know, not in a subtle way, not, you know, like overtly saying, you know, food justice or food violence, you know, those are like maybe concepts that I don't want to throw in anybody's face, but like I'll make work where somebody is experiencing the life and death of a vegetable.
Kirby.
Rank?
Noise. Percussion. I don't know.
The concussion section?
The concussion sector.
So, you as a drummer, you do what exactly?
I don't know. Just fuck around.
Do you think that it takes some skill to, like, you know, keep your heartbeat out in the open?
It does take some special skill. I almost had a heart attack in there just now. I think I still am. Should probably stop smoking cigarettes.
Would you say you wear your heartbeat on your sleeve?
I don't have sleeves. What sleeves are you talking about?
Do you have any upcoming shows or projects you're working on right now?
I've been slaving over this project called I Come Drums.
What's it called?
I Come Drums. Like, I've been trying to think of like a, you know, like for the album, like the front, you know, like the picture. I've been thinking of like getting completely naked and having my snare drum like, you know, like up in front of my cock and shit, you know, and just like spilling blood everywhere all over me. I don't know. And coming on drums.
Would you actually, at a performance, would you actually consider coming on the drums?
Maybe.
And in the end,
I wanted to make new songs out of the Beatles songs, and had been studying music theory here at UNM, and wanted to take what I was learning all about counterpoint and you know, serial rows and retrograde inversion and all these things, and apply it to what I knew about the Beatles music, and found that they would repeat themselves. You know, Fixing a Hole is basically Michelle or one of these songs, and you know, overlaying those in analog manner or using guitar pedals to filter things. After I'd gotten tired of doing all the Beatles albums, I was doing some of the solo Beatles albums, and there was Double Fantasy, the album John Lennon did with Yoko Ono. And he has a song, then she has a song, he has a song, and she has a song. And the second song on that album is called Kiss, Kiss, Kiss. She's like, kiss, kiss, kiss.
kiss, 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 kiss me love.
No. Anyway, when you play that in reverse, it says sick, sick, sick. And so I was like, whoa. And so I named my pretend record label 666 after that. And So I started that in the year 2000, and it was a way to just put out my own releases, because everything I was doing was anonymous anyway. So the first 7 releases on that label are me under different names.
Like for the album, like the front, like the picture, I was thinking of like getting completely naked and having my snare drum like up in front of my cock and shit, and just like spilling blood everywhere all over me.
Feeling I love myself and all that I love. Still there's a weight I'm trying to be rid of. Dark thoughts always tell me I'll never be enough. So fed up now I'm gonna try, 'cause I want to face this, all these tears I can't take all the pain. This time I'm not gonna lie, I'm so tired of fighting. Gotta finally live a life without my shame.
Small things grow tough in the desert, and that's like the most, that seems to be the thing that defines this area, just so like it's hard, it's hard for things to get going and to stay alive, but it's got a lot, got a lot of potency to it.
So goodbye.
My best advice is it's how I did it. I mean, I went to shows and I supported bands in the scene and people in the scene, and they just recognized that I was there, like supporting and stuff, and they got to know me, and then just realized that I was down to play music and in bands and stuff, and just going out supporting the scene and getting to know these bands and hopping on shows with these bands. Like if you see a band like that has like shows coming up and stuff, ask them if they need another band, or for the next show that they're playing if they need a band. Just the best thing is to go out and network, because things just don't happen. You have to go work for it, and that's the best advice. Just support your scene and other bands that you want to play with and stuff, and that's the best way.
Everybody always wants to get on the list and they want to get in for free, and that's fine if you're struggling as well, but if you have the money, like, pay for a show. Sometimes I'll get offered like, just come on in. I'm like, no, I pay, because like all the artists here are struggling. They don't make money very often, and that gap between starting to make money and then making a living off of being in a band is there's such a huge gap. So buy merch, buy a ticket, buy people drinks, and help the venue, because if the venue thrives, then the scene thrives and the bands thrive.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna make a poster, the important thing is get the date up top. Usually, that's something that I always stuck with, was that formatting: date, then band names, then venue down at the bottom. But make sure you get all those things. Right. Because I don't know how many flyers I've seen or made and just been like, oh my god, I got the date wrong, or totally. Yeah. Didn't notice for weeks. Yeah. I think physical promotions is still a good thing. Like having flyers out and about is a good thing. It's certainly not the only thing anymore. Right. And is eclipsed by a lot of social media, which I'm not that great at. I do what I can. I guess maybe just try a little bit of everything, but don't throw all your eggs in one basket.
When did you start working for UNM?
in 97, and that was another big change. You know, the clubs changed.
Yeah.
And it started getting more punky. And it was more dangerous too to go downtown.
Yeah.
And our crowd was older, and it just kind of, a lot of the bands that were playing, we didn't fit in.
Yeah.
And the audiences weren't coming, they weren't showing up. It was just shifting.
I took Manny's class every year that I could at UNM. And he, met a lot of people through his classes. And they're still collaborators today. A lot of us are still in this experimental music community. And, subsequent students would still have that same kind of spirit of like DIY music making. And he was able to leverage whatever he could at the university to let students, use gear, use rooms, use any of his time to have this kind of continuing education of DIY music making. And so he's one of these people here that's, changed the music scene.
Yeah, Manny was, he was teaching a class. It was called electronic music, but it was like a combination of electronic music and recording, production and stuff. And it was a small class. There was I think 7 or 8 of us maybe in there. And Raven, Mike, and I were all 3 of us in that class. And we met Raven. That was in 98. So yeah, that's actually talking to Raven in that class was how we started playing music together.
One conversation I had with Manny was about how we're at the very beginning of understanding electronic music. It's really, the idea of using electricity, or he calls it electric music. Also, he doesn't call it electronic music. Electric music has only really been happening for X number of decades, whereas music on the whole has existed for so long. And so we're in this infant understanding of what we can do with electric music. And he told me that one afternoon we were on a coffee run or whatever, and it changed forever how I was thinking about something, right? So that's who Manny is. He's a guide or a mentor or portal or something, right?
Is the subsequent metal stoner rock band that Gordy put together with Brian Banks, that crazy motherfucker, another guy, another evil messenger from the depths of the hell. They're a madhouse, man. They're a fucking madhouse. Everywhere they go, they leave a trail of destruction.
Black Maria, it's just amazing, Brian and I were buddies from way back then. We didn't play in the same bands, but we played in the bands back in the Resin Records days. And missing my ears ringing and feeling the back of my legs, pants going from the amps. So I was looking for some kind of a project to get back to doing something loud, and eventually ended up with those cats. Yeah, the chemistry with all of us was almost instantaneously, and we immediately started churning out tunes. And yeah, I hope that this project lasts a while. And there's a time too before, when I had the cancer, and I couldn't play for 7 or 8 months, and those dudes totally waited, just like they are now. They're just totally patient about it and waiting for Gordy to get better. And I know that once we do, we'll get back on it, and it always clicks hard, and we get excited about playing out again. And fuck, man, it's hard for me to get my fingers to settle down with this fucking brain damage thing.
Right.
Yeah, look at that, I cannot play a scale. That is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, check this out. You know, Gordy used to be able to play some simple shit. Now he can't even do that. The old body, when you get older, watch out for it, man. Take care of it, because being a single dude, too, that was the other thing, is when the shit was starting to happen, and, you know, it's going to take care of itself. And when they did it, and I find out, well, yeah, you're old.
Yeah.
You're sort of falling apart. And if you would have come in earlier, you might have been able to do something about this or that, but no regrets either, man, in your life. Never regret, man. Just be kind to others. Don't fuck people over. Don't try to physically hurt people. Certainly don't try to emotionally hurt them. You know, just be cool. And in this town with this beautiful weather, with all the mellow vibe out here, you'll go far. You'll enjoy your life. Let me hear, just be that way. Just be cool to people.
Yeah.
It's a good place for. Yeah. It's a good place for being cool. You know?
Yeah.
Music is expensive. I spend all my money on gear. The venues don't ever pay enough. Like, you know, like whatever it is. And I'm just like, when people are thinking that, I'm also like, and music gave me all my friends, gave me all these opportunities to travel, gave, you know, like, made it so I met people literally all over the world that I still have connections with. You know, like, music gave me everything else. And it wasn't about, it for me, it was never about, like, infamy or money or whatever. It's just like, how do you find your way in the world?
We only have so much of it in us to like give to the space, and when like the expiration date does happen, like we hope that we can work with who we're renting from to pass it along to one. There's a few people we have in mind of that younger generation that we're like, they would be so good running the space.
Thank you for waiting. We're Los Mocos. We want to give a deep thank you to Bethany and Audrey for running this place, creating a lot of memories, a culture. ¿Listos? Dame leche.
You're gonna see less and less live bands. It's going to video.